Alliteration. Alliteration, the repetition of consonant sounds at the beginning of words within a line or stanza, creating musical or rhythmic effect. For example, the tongue twisters, particularly Betty bought a bitter butter and she bought more butter to make the bitter butter bitter. Or, for example, Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled peppers. Assonance, that is the repetition of vowel sounds. Vowel sounds are repeated in assonance. It is very important. In alliteration, there is a repetition of consonant sound, while in assonance, there is a repetition of vowel sound within a line or stanza, contributing to the poem's auditory quality. Try to light the fire, that is, the long I is there, light, fire in the words. Try to I light the fire. That is the long vowel is there. Consonants, that is the repetition of consonant sound within or at the end of words. That is in between the words or towards the end of the word, enhancing the poem's harmony and rhythm. For example, pitter patter. So there is a repetition of t and r sound is there. Symbolism, the use of objects, words, or action to represent the abstract ideas or qualities, adding similar layers of meanings to the poem. For example, that is, if we talk about the poems of uh, Edmund Spenser, Fairy Queen, it has various symbols are there. That is Red Cross Knight, and the cross is there, and the Lady Una, the lamb represent innocence, and the Red Cross Knight represent the figure of Jesus Christ is there. Onomatopoeia, words that imitate the sounds that they represent, adding oral texture and vividness to the poem. For example, the buzz of the bee, that is, the word buzz imitates the sound of a bee, or rustling of leaves. The rustling represents the sound of leaves. Personification, giving human attributes or characteristic to non-human entities or abstract concepts, allowing readers to relate to them more deeply. For example, the wind whispered secrets through the tree, giving the wind the human quality of whispering, or as in the poem Ode to Autumn by John Keats, where he is talking about conspiring with the season. The sun is conspiring with the season. That is, both non human entities are given human attributes. Hyperbole, exaggerated statement or claims for emphasis or effect, often used to create vivid imagery or evoke strong emotions. Example, I'm so hungry, I could eat a horse. Irony, a literary device in which intended meaning of words is opposite to their literal or surface meaning, often used to convey a deeper message. For example, water, water everywhere, nor any drop to drink. This is a famous line from The Rime of the Ancient Mariner by Samuel Taylor Coleridge. In this line, the irony lies in that they are surrounded by the water, but they are not able to drink that water because it is a sea water. Repetition, the deliberate use of words and phrases as sounds or structures for emphasis, rhythm, or thematic reinforcement. Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. This is a kind of a anger which is being, the word rage, rage is being repeated in this particular line. The famous line from the poem, Do Not Go Gentle into That Good Night by Dylan Thomas. Oxymoron, a combination of contradictory or contrasting words to create a thought provoking or paradoxical effect. For example, brawling love or oh loving hate from Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare. There are some other poetic features are also there. There are with their example. For example, the harmonious and the pleasant combination of sound is known as euphony. Example, cellar door. Cacophony is the opposite, that is the harsh and discordant combination of sound. For example, crash, bang, clank, that is a cacophony is being created. Anaphora. Anaphora is the repetition of the phrase. For example, the famous line by Martin Luther King, I have a dream that one day, I have a dream that one day. That is a kind of a repetition is there, that is there in the successive lines. Epiphora, repetition of the same word or group of words at the end of successive clause. For example, where now, who now, when now. Chiasmus, the word or the order of words or phrases in the first clause is reversed in the second clause. Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. Conceit, an extended metaphor that draws a surprising or imaginative comparison. Love is like an oil, change, a necessary act of maintenance. Synthesis, example is a loud color that describes a color it were as if it were a sound, that is loud. Juxtaposition, contrasting ideas placed side by side for effect. For example, the famous lines of A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. Antithesis, a contrast of ideas within a parallel grammatic structure is known as antithesis. For example, to err is human, to forgive divine. Famous line by Alexander Pope. Metonymy, using a word or phrase to represent something closely associated with. The White House issued a statement. That means the president issued a statement, or the president office issued a statement. Synecdoche, using a part of something to represent the whole or vice versa. For example, all hands on deck, that means all people on deck. Epanellipsis, repeating the initial word or words of a sentence at the end. Example, next time there won't be a next time. Apostrophe, that is addressing an absent or imaginary person, often used to convey strong emotion. Example, O Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo? Or catachresis, catachresis, an extravagant implied metaphor that strains the limit of language. I will speak daggers to her. Paradox, a statement that appears self contradictory but reveals an underlying truth. Less is more. Quatrain. Uh, Quatrain is that as a kind of a four-line stanza is known as quatrain. For example, in the lines of the poem, particularly written by Robert Frost, the poem entitled "The Road Not Taken." Two roads diverge in a yellow wood, and sorry, I could not travel both. This poem has four lines, and this particular stanza is named as quatrain. Litosis, that is an understatement that emphasizes a point by negating its opposite. He's not the brightest bulb in the box. Cliche, that is an overused phrase that has lost its meaning because of excessive use. It has lost its original impact. For example, he's the right hand of the company, or the time heals all wounds. Haiku, a traditional Japanese form with three lines and a syllabic arrangement of 5-7-5 pattern. For example, the lines by Mastubu Basho, that is an old silent pond, a frog jumps into the pond, splash, silence again. Sonnet, that is a 14-line poem with various rhyme scheme. For example, the various sonnets written by Shakespeare, about 154. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Thank you.